Okay, continuation of external factors, moving on from multinational corporations. Um, so, firstly, this is the understanding of those pressures that society puts on a business, societal expectations of business. So, the whole idea of understanding what current pressures are existing from society or current trends are existing, and how they're being adapted to by organisations, and also as well how businesses can keep track of society's expectations for their own personal accountability framework towards social trends and expectations. So, first off, societal expectations. Well, society is an incredibly important uh, influence on all organisations. If you think of society, we've got two key big, I mean, all stakeholders come from society. However, the two big stakeholder groups are obviously your customers and your workforce as well. Okay, so there's huge pressure on here, and what we need to understand is how are these interactions between the business and society in the ideas of these two groups, but also the wider fabric society, how they are managed and how they're adapted to, and how they're taken advantage in some respects to by the organisation, and to and on the other side, how they may limit those disadvantages that are coming up. So effectively, when we actually boil down to what society is, essentially we think of people, but it's more than that. Okay, there's the whole idea of cultures, histories, organisations, and institutions interacting. So some of those key institutions that we have in society, we need to have without which society wouldn't function. So our sense of governance, our sense of legal institutions, our educational institutions, um, all of these are real mainstays that have to be present in society for society to operate. But these institutions themselves have their own way and interpretations of how things should be done, which reflect on businesses. So it is a very evolving concept of society, okay, and it's something which businesses have to match, and it's one of these many inputs that the business environment have that make it so dynamic. Um, so the whole idea is this evolution needs to be matched, it needs to be adapted to, it needs to be anticipated, interpreted uh, for businesses to maintain their competitiveness. So, as an example of what's currently going on at the minute, it's also always quite a tricky thing, really, just to look out and say, okay, well, this is the current trend in society. You need to be able to look at the bigger picture. So, it's always helpful to look at what is being talked about out there. So, for example, this is a website I came across um, written 2 years ago, so maybe you could argue it's a little bit out of date. However, some of these things they were particularly looking at, and it was focusing on tech trends as well as social trends. We're going through this digital revolution as a society at the minute, so they're obviously going to have a big bearing. So looking at these sort of things, now I'm not going to go through the whole lot, but incidentally, these can obviously, this article, should you wish to look at, can be found at this web address up here. So the whole idea of connectivity, so as mentioned before, globalization has been a real dominant feature over the past 20 years or so, and this is continuing the whole idea that you know um, we are now connected digitally, okay, and we're connected in a worldwide environment. The whole idea of it's not a case of bricks and mortar and to have some sort of commercial presence online. Online commerce is obviously a very powerful thing. Mobility, the urbanization, the city as a customer. So bringing this whole idea that the city is now that recognizes that home place, that focal place um, for people, and in that acting like a household, acting like a consumer, recognizing that the social trends changing from demographics, things such as the pink dollar, the grey dollar, the halal economy, all of these subsections within society recognise that they have their own economy focus as well. Health, wellness, well-being. This one always is a very topical idea, and I think in a way this comes on the back from the environmental that aspect of that green approach, that ethical approach. Innovation to zero, so having a zero concept has been seen as things such as zero sugar. Is a start one. Smart being the new green. Okay, is a very good idea that is now that evolution on from environmental friendly products. I mean, really, please have a read of this to get a bit more of an understanding. It's just a quick overview, but these are the sort of things which have been spotted and identified in the world presently. So these are the things that businesses have to learn to adapt to. So moving on to that. So how does a business know whether or not they are doing the right thing by society? Because obviously society's opinion is a very tricky thing to obtain. An accurate opinion of society. There's different subsets and different opinions that are in there. It's always a very subjective issue. So what they tend to look at is the whole idea is understanding social awareness from a point of view of three different areas: people, planet, profit. So that's a triple line reporting, or taking it onto a more what we've seen before, sustainability approach, quadruple bottom line. So economic, social, environmental, spiritual. So having all of these things and recognizing what they do in terms of these effects on these areas of society, it gives those organisations that sense of doing the right thing, that ethical standpoint. It accentuates their CSR capabilities as well, and hopefully reflect positively within the company culture and also within society